What's up everybody, Brian here at BPS Customs, and today's video came about as a result of a viewer on YouTube asking me a simple question. Can we get a GTX 1070 into a $1,000 build? Let's find out. So if you guys have watched my video that I came out with last week on the best PC that you could build for $1,000, right here, you'll know that I decided to go a little bit higher end on some of the components and compromise on the graphics card. Now the graphics card we chose was the RX 480, which is by no means a slouch. It'll be an excellent performer for the majority of people under most circumstances. And considering that most people are not going to need more graphics horsepower than that, I chose to allocate resources to things like better RAM, better motherboard, better cooling solution for a 6600K, and things of that nature. But that doesn't mean that this is the only way to build the system, as I did allude to in that video. One thing that I did consider when putting the system together was a GTX 1060. It's significantly cheaper than a GTX 1070 and only a little bit more expensive than the RX 480. However, I did choose to go with the RX 480 for a couple of reasons, and like I said, you could find those reasons in this video right here. So go watch it. But the idea to put a GTX 1070 in that system never really crossed my mind. You have to make too many compromises on too many components in order to make something like that happen. But regardless, can we do it? That is a different question than should we do it? So today we're going to dive in and we're going to see if we actually can squeeze a GTX 1070 into that kind of a system. So what I'm going to do for this video is hop on this computer back here, do a little screen cap action for you. We're going to go to PC Part Picker, we're going to start with our original build, and then we're going to go from there and see what we could change and get the 1070 in there. At the end, we'll see if we made a huge mistake or if we made the right call. My prediction is that we're not going to be able to reasonably get a 1070 into that system without making too many compromises. So we'll see. Let's go take a look. All right, so we're going to start to delve into this by basing our research on the parts list that I put together for my $1,000 build video. Now, as you can see, the price here is a little bit higher than it was when I put the system together. I think maybe one or two of these items was on sale for 10 bucks off or something like that. So right now the price is $1,029.70, but you see there's no discounts down here, meaning that, you know, normally when you buy a system you'll get a $10 rebate or you know, whatever, the SanDisk will be $59.99 instead of $69.99. So I'm going to stand by this price list and say that yes, this was about $1,000 when I put it together. But regardless, this is where we're going to start. Now we're going to keep the price target the same. We're going to change this video card to a GTX 1070. Now we're going to sort it by price, and we're going to get the cheapest GTX 1070 that we could find. The Asus Turbo, not my favorite, but still a 1070 nonetheless. That takes us up to $1199.70. We're gonna have to shave $200 off of the price of our system in order to make this work. Okay, where are we gonna start? The first thing I would do is change the CPU cooler. We sorted the coolers by price. We definitely don't want to go with something that's less than $20. I don't think that it's gonna provide enough cooling capacity for our 6600K, although the T2 is okay. I think maybe we'll go for like a Hyper T4 or something if I could. Here we go, Hyper T4. All right, $2289. So right away, we're gonna be cutting $37 off of the price of our system. We're probably not gonna be able to achieve as high of an overclock, but if the goal here is to squeeze this 1070 into the system, that's where we're gonna have to start. The next thing we could visit is the motherboard. Now, I like this motherboard, but part of the reason that I chose it was because it kind of goes with the aesthetic that I was going for. One thing that I'm not willing to compromise on is that we are going to use a Z170 chipset if we're going to use the 6600K. Now, there's not many choices, as you guys can see, in the Mini ITX form factor Z170 chipset. Lowest price is the ASRock Z170 MITX-AC, and this board is ugly. But that's not the point. We're not going for pretty here. We're going for performance. So we're going to do that. We're going to change up the motherboard. So we've saved ourselves another $40. We're still $113 over budget, and this includes $25 in mail-in rebates. The next thing we could look at is the memory. I would strongly include any builders out there looking to put a $1,000 system together to use 16 gigs of memory. Maybe we could change up the kind of memory that we have, and maybe the speed. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a search for 2x8 gig kit, and then we're just going to sort it by price. So the cheapest price is the Guile Evo Potenza. Is this super ugly? What is this? Alright, it's red. It's not my favorite looking thing. Yikes. Alright, that's fine. So we'll go with that. And we're going to get rid of this Corsair. Now, I think the easiest place to cut, if we're just looking to get performance and shave cost, is going to be storage. Now, for a system that's $1,000, I can't realistically see putting together a storage solution that does not include an SSD. But maybe we could change this to 120 gigs instead. So let's get rid of this. And we're going to add an SSD. And we're going to go for 120 gigs. Boop. Oh, come on, slider. Hey, all right. And we'll sort it by price. And the cheapest 120 gig SSD we could find is the Silicon Power. So let's add that. Now, this Toshiba 1 terabyte drive is about as cheap as you're going to get. The only other option is like a Western Digital Blue or something like that, and the price is basically the same. So I don't think we're gonna do anything with this. I'm not gonna sacrifice too much. So where are we at? 1,060. Okay. Can we chop $60 off of the case and the power supply? Oh, I don't know. I really like this case. All right, so let's see what we could do here. So let's go into Mini ITX Tower, and we'll just sort it by price. All right, what is this? Oh man, it's green. That's really unattractive. Anything else in that price range? No. The next thing, the next highest case is $10 more, and that is a Zalman, very basic little cube looking thing. Cool. I guess we're gonna have a green case. And the power supply. Now don't skimp too much on the power supply. You can see we're at 1,046. Don't go with the cheapest of the cheap in power supplies. You can see if you sort this by price, you're gonna get some ridiculously low prices on some power supplies that are like Rosewill and Zalman and Lipa, which I don't even know. What is Lipa? Oh, that is bold. All right. So you definitely want to get something that's at least 500 watts. I would definitely also recommend something that is 80 plus rated. And I tend to trust EVGA a lot more than a lot of these other brands at this price point. So how about a 450? Well, 450 would suit our needs, to be perfectly honest with you. We're going to be under the power draw of this power supply, but you don't want to go too far under it. So do we go for the 80 plus 500 or the 80 plus bronze 450? Let's go for the 80 plus 500. I'd rather have a little bit extra headroom. So we're at 1,013. I mean, that's pretty close. We are pretty close. There's not really much else I could change here. I'm not willing to compromise on the processor. I'm not willing to compromise on the chipset. I'm not willing to go any lower cooling capacity than something like a T4, which is still very cheap. Okay, so I think this is it. I think this is where we're at. $1,013, but this does include $45 of mail-in rebates. So, I mean, if you're one of those people like me, who hate doing mail-in rebates, then this system is going to cost you $1,050 and not $1,013. So if that's the case, we're still quite a ways away. But at the same time, you know, I mean, if we're looking to save the money, then yeah, we'll do the mail-in rebates, and we'll live with a case that looks like this. Oh no. Oh man. All right, let's stop looking at that. But everything else in the case is still kind of matched up. This is not the best looking motherboard. It's kind of a weirdo orange here. But I mean, at least we have like red dims. All right, I'm stretching it. So aesthetics is not going to be the strong point of this build, but yeah, I mean, it will likely outperform the system that we put together first. I honestly would prefer to go the other way, though. I mean, there's a reason that I went with the system and configured it the way I did and went with the parts that I chose. I think that they offer a really good balance. They offer a really good aesthetic, and I think that they're all very reliable. I'm not going to have to worry about my ASA Z Mini ITX tower case because I have a really good looking Fractal Nano S. I'm not going to have to worry about my ASRock motherboard, which doesn't match anything else, because I'm using an Asus board that's proven to be reliable. And I'm not going to have to worry about my chip overheating because I have a liquid cooler. So yeah, you can make some compromises and get to that price, sort of. But at the same time, is that the smart thing to do? I don't think so. I practice what I preach. And I preach balanced systems, stability, known quantities. And I think that the way that I had put the system together initially is the better option. All right, we're back. I've extracted myself from the computer screen and placed myself right here in front of your eyeballs so you could see all of this. What did we learn? So maybe I was like a little wrong about putting a 1070 into that kind of a system, because I guess it is mostly possible. It would even be more possible if you cut down the RAM from 16 gigs to 8 gigs. I think that would really just kind of free up a whole bunch of room and we could get it right down to that $1,000 price point. But does it make it the right call? I don't think so. Yeah, you get more graphics horsepower out of it, but the corners you're going to cut in order to get there, I mean, I don't like them. The object of the series is not just to say what is the most powerful system you could build for this price. It is what is the best system you could build for this price. Does this parts list that we just put together a few minutes ago embody the best system you could build at that price? I doubt it. I don't think so. But for some people, it might be the way to go. You might say, I have $1,000, I'm buying a 1070. How do we make that happen? We could also go with something like a locked CPU, like a 6500 or 6400, and then step down to like an H170 chipset or a B150 chipset and kind of shave a little money off that way. But you're giving up a lot of performance by doing that, and also you're giving up future expandability. So yes, it can be done. No, you shouldn't do it. So what do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. How would you configure your $1,000 system? Do you think putting a 1070 in there is the right call? What about an RX 480? What about a 1060? What I'd like to do with this series is to start conversation, to see what people really think is the best way to do this. Because I do this all the time, but I'm not always right. My opinions are just that. It's my opinion. I hope you guys agree with my opinion at least some of the time, but you don't have to. And that's what makes the internet great, because you guys have just as much of a right to an opinion as I do. You can also just troll me, which happens all the time. So get subscribed to this channel, guys. We got that video up there you could watch. You got that video down there you could watch. You got all this you could watch as much as you want. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.